to think about this.
Okay.
Cursing the darkness.
Here's another quote. A million candles have burned themselves out, still I read on.
Ooh.
Mantra sword, isn't that excellent?
Jesse, have you tested your?
Did it
Oh,
pop
man,
up?
I
I
sure
don't
have.
see it
I
yet.
completely
I
forgot.
have it.
You're live though, just so you know.
Do that, so let me know when you got
Okay.
it ready.
So when you test it, know you're live, Jesse.
All right, so I don't say something vulgar.
Are we? It hasn't popped up yet.
Okay, I think we're on.
No, we're on because we already have 5 people.
Okay.
I need to wait for Jesse.
I just don't see it for whatever reason. That's why. Yep, I see it now.
Test, hello, hello, test. Hello, test, hello, test, hello, test. Good.
Good morning, CLC. Thank you for being here. Welcome to another glorious Sunday. We are happy that you're here. We're happy that you're a part of this service. With that being said, I ask you to join me in saying, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is. And now, take a few moments just to relax in the here and now. Be conscious of your breath. Be conscious of your body. Be conscious of your mind. Still yourself, focus yourself, and be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin the inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging the higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems, while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words. I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only constructive, positive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing the idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who's not physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I am grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone virtually present on this program or in the room this morning and say to them, I am grateful for the good in all of your lives.
Brian Schwanitz, Jeffrey Oshman. Joining us in the room also this morning, Danielle Mercadal and the Reverend Lisa Ryan, as they have done for the last, 9 months on Sundays.
We ought to be birthing something really good about now.
You know, it's been awesome working with you. And when all this is over, when we've all lined up and had the shot, we're going to have to do a reunion service sometime and sneak in here, just the 5 of us and Mel and Kenzie, and, just to remember this because, well, it's something we'll never forget. Well, I welcome you here to Creative Life on this glorious morning. We're indoors now. If we could, like the stadium, NRG, if we could roll the roof back, or Minute Maid, we would, because it is just absolutely glorious outside. I love this time of year. Don't you love this time of year? We were talking about this last week. We said, it's cold outside, and that's great for us here because it's rare. So we kind of seize onto it, and if we were in Minnesota, it'd be a whole different thing. But anyway, today is a day, I don't care where you live. You split the difference. A day like today is just absolutely beautiful, so I hope you'll get outside and take advantage of the nice weather. But not yet. Or maybe you have and you're watching this later in the day on YouTube. I want to offer some thoughts of inspiration today. This series is on magic. It's on finding the magic in the moment, in the time. It's not the easiest thing to do right now. Nothing that we've been doing for these 9 months has been easy. Nothing in terms, I'm going to move this because I'm looking right at the end of your microphone stand there. It's blocking out Brian's pretty face. Brian just got a haircut, you may have noticed. And he got it. Oh, you shaved. That was it. I thought he looks awful clean cut. What did he do? Okay, you shaved too. All right, dude. Well, yeah. It's the other direction. You're supposed to grow the beard in the winter and then, but hey, whatever works. Yeah. So it's inspiration is not easy to come by sometimes. So we have to find it where we do. And the other night I saw in a yard, the decorations are up for the holidays, for the Christian holidays principally. Hanukkah will begin this week. I'll speak more about that shortly. But saw this yard. One side of the yard had Santa and reindeer. Other side of the yard had the Holy Family. And I thought, they're throwing everything they got at this, Whatever works. Whatever works. To try to inspire the self. Inspiration has to do with breath. It's where the word comes from. Inspire. Inspiration is life. Expiration is the passage of life into the beyond. So we inspire. We breathe in. Do you know how many different spiritual practices have breath work as a central element? Not so much in the Western world where we keep stuff up in the head and it's conceptual, but in indigenous cultures, in more body-centered spiritual practices, the breath is key. We breathe. You can alter your state of consciousness through your breath. We breathe. So what I want to invite you to do now, this morning, or whatever time of day it is when you're watching this, is take a moment and just breathe. We have not done this here in a while, and it just, I don't know, it escaped me in the opening meditations. I used to say, and will remind myself now to say again, take this time to catch up with yourself. You know, the fact that we're largely closeted at home, our schedules have been disrupted, our errands have been changed, doesn't alter the fact that we're really busy people. Everybody's busy. Maybe you're busy on Zoom. You got to sit down in front of the computer because you got a meeting, you got a class, you're in it, you're teaching it, whatever. We're busy people. We got to take time to sit and breathe and let the self catch up with the self. Let the self settle in. Breathe and know. And as in last month's series, know that I am. Know that I am. Be still and know that I am God, that I am Source, that I am the All, that I am the One. However you choose to word this, be still and know. Or even if you're not sure what you want to be still and know, just be still and know and let something come in, and it will surprise you. And as a matter of fact, that's a good exercise, is take the limits off of what it has to look like. That has to look like a metaphysical reality. It has to look like something out of the Science Mind textbook. No, it does not. Be willing to be astonished. In 3 years, when we have this time of year come around, I'm going to recite for you 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. A visit, it's actually called A Visit from St. Nicholas. In 3 years. Why? Because it'll be the 200th anniversary on the day before Christmas Eve of the publication of that. The other reason is it's going to take me 3 years to learn it. Because I tried it one time here in one of our shows, and I got about 2/3 of the way through it and just ran out of memory. And stood there, and you don't want to do that. You never want to try to memorize something and then deliver it. And what's worse is I had the least forgiving audience you could possibly have, children. Rows and rows of children here when I ran out of gas. And they probably knew it. But you know what? They loved that I tried, and that was great. No, but I'm not going to recite it now, but you know the story. And why I'm bringing it up is it's about surprise. It's about astonishment. It's about ordinary reality being disrupted. This guy who's telling this story, the whole family, they turned in early, and all of a sudden there's a racket outside, and he wonders what it could be, and it could be, I'm sure he had scrolling through his head, whatever it might, raccoons it would be probably in our neck of the woods, maybe coyotes, burglars, he doesn't know what's going on. And all of a sudden he is shocked out of what Emerson called his sempiternal memory, which is sequential memory, The memory of, you sift through the possibilities that occur. Okay, here's something out of left field. This has never come about before. So as much as possible, we want to take the lid off to what the inspiration is going to be that's going to come our way, rather than trying to cram it into the existing box that we have for it. So when you sit and be still and know the I am, don't try to make it into God or Spirit or the One if you can help it, you know? Let it turn up as something spontaneous for you, a bird chirping on the windowsill or whatever. And then if you want to, then you can turn that story into something larger. You can say, well, it's a sign of something, or it's a meaning of something, you know? But you take it for what it is, and you see. And as we talked about last week in the grandfather's axe story, which I got a lot of feedback from you on, and I appreciate that. A lot of you had heard the story. I haven't heard the story, and you liked it. You liked how it went, you know. Well, I don't know if I made the point enough about the story, so I want to make it again, that when you have something that in that case is comprised of two parts, both of which have been replaced from the original, how can you call it the original? Because you're the one calling it that. We grant to reality the meaning that it has for us. We alone grant to reality the meaning that it has for us. Other people have tried to hand you things throughout your life and said, this is meaningful. Here, hold this. This book changed my life. You've got to see this movie, this story, this song, whatever. That people have had, with the best of intentions, they've given it to us. Throughout our upbringing, we had a religion, most of us, given to us. Here's what we do in this family, you know? And we found the meaning in it that we found in it. Or we found a kind of an absence of meaning. Or we had meaning for a while and the meaning sort of drained out of the thing and we went looking for something else. Well, we carry that capacity within us. That's the capacity to inspire ourselves. That's the capacity then to inspire others. And you can only inspire others when you're working off the story that you accept yourself. It can't be secondhand information. Remember Emerson, I've been quoting him every week here about the faith that rests on authority is not faith, it's authority. And sometimes it's shop-worn authority, you know? It's threadbare authority. You've got to find it for yourself in your own inspiration. You are your own best inspiration. So I saw this yard with the Santa Claus and all of that business on one end and the Holy Family, the nativity scene on the other end, and I thought, you know, I had a snarky thought. I thought they're going to get letters. They're you know, on next door or something. Somebody's going to complain. This is going to offend somebody. It's like, no, Christmas isn't about that end of the yard. It's about this end of the yard. And then I thought, why am I doing that? Why am I determining what the reaction is going to be to this? Because my first reaction was joyful. And I thought just that this is what these people need to do. Maybe it's for the kids, and this is the thing about Christmas and also Hanukkah, and it's one of the big things besides typically falling in December that Christmas and Hanukkah have in common. Hanukkah is not the Jewish Christmas that sometimes people think it is. You realize it's completely different stories, legends, and time frames. But what they have in common is that they're very often said to appeal to children. You've heard this said, right? Christmas is for children. After a while, you get kind of grown up. You get kind of wise. You know, you see where all the wires are hidden, and you see what stuff costs. That's another thing. You see how much all of this is going to cost you out of pocket. And so it becomes, well, kind of hard on the grown-ups sometimes. They have to cook. They have to clean. They have to entertain relatives. They have to make sure everybody has a good time, whoever's hosting this thing, whereas the kids just get to plunder it, you know, right? They were presents, food, games, other kids, go play out in the snow, you know, whatever. It's just for the kids. Well, I think that's true. I also think it's tragic to limit it to that because you have the child in you and I have the child in me who still wants to come out and have that fresh, new experience of not just this holiday, but any holiday, any observance, anything that goes on. The kid in you wants to come out to play, and it's the kid in you who'll throw a fit if it doesn't get to. And that's sometimes how, somebody put this one time this way in a class. They said, my inner child is out breaking windows. And what that means is you haven't been listening to your inner child if your inner child comes out and breaks windows. So what does your inner child want? A walk in the park. Your inner child wants me to finish this talk. Okay, wants to get through this. Okay, we've put in a morning at Creative Life because there's great big outdoor, we're burning daylight, you know, great big outdoors out there to get out into. We want to honor that child in us. And we do this through the observance of the interest and the delight that we take in things, the inspiration that we find. There's another meaning, and I had to force this one kind of, but I thought, so if inspire, I like wordplay, so if inspire means to breathe in and expire means to breathe out, what does just plain old spire mean? So I looked it up thinking that it would come from the same roots and all, and it doesn't. Spire has to do, like a church spire, it has to do with sprouting. It has to do with something coming up. And it goes back to Old English and Old High German and, you know, whatnot. But it has to do with, and so like bamboo, you know, or something sprouting up quickly through the self. So imagine this as well, that through you right now, coming from deep roots underground in the wintertime in our hemisphere, that coming up through you is new growth, is new growth. And as you breathe, you inspire, and the new growth accompanies that. Well, you got a lot going on then. You got a lot pointing you toward a future destiny, toward future creation, toward the management of challenges in this time. You got almost a miraculous power. Well, you could call it a miraculous power. It's not a supernatural power exactly, because there's just larger nature, you know. But it seems miraculous in the way that it works to do what needs to be done, which is where Hanukkah comes in. Because Hanukkah, I was astonished to read this. I grew up actually in a Jewish neighborhood with many Jewish kids, you know, as a child and stuff, and observed the holiday, but I completely missed this part of the story. I'm sure it was talked about, it just sailed over my head because I was busy with Gelt. But so and latkes. But the essence of the story is that a lamp had enough oil in it to burn for a day, and it burned for 8. It burned for 8. Okay, that part I knew. And so I thought, and it was in the temple, and it had to do with the rededication of the temple. And some of you know what I'm about to say, because I say it every year at this time, because I think it's a powerful spiritual message. So that's why you hear it repeatedly. I thought that the oil lasted so that they could celebrate, so that they could worship, so that they could eat, so that they could do all the things, have ritual performance, all the things that were done in the temple before the Syrians conquered it, conquered Jerusalem, occupied the temple, and installed a statue of their leader, a graven image of their leader to be worshipped. Once the Maccabees routed the Syrians, so I thought things go right back to normal. But what I learned was that the oil lasted for 8 days so that they could clean. This is before any celebrations. This is before any rituals. This is before life getting back to normal. And now I think this year they disinfected. They didn't just clean. They cleaned with a particular purpose. And they did, a ritual purpose. They didn't just shovel out the garbage that had accumulated. The place had to be ritually sanctified and restored to pristine quality for service to continue. Well, this is what happens. The metaphysical point to this seems to me to be that when you ask God for assistance, you get the tools to do what's necessary. When you ask for relief, you get other people around you to accompany you on the journey. When you ask, you don't, in other words, get magically transported from the set of conditions that you're in into a new set of conditions. You get a process. You get a process that you have to undertake, that you have to involve yourself in. So here we are newly in the month of December, coming up on what many call the holiday season, and you're not here. You're not in this room with us. And the parties will be on Zoom and on Facebook Live. And you heard the excellent Danielle in her announcement say, New Year's Eve is going to be on Zoom. New Year's Eve is usually in that courtyard around a big fire. A lot of things are different now. A lot of things are different. So it must be time for us to clean. Must be time for us to clean. Must be time for us to prepare and make ready and make room. And that making room will reference the nativity story also when we come to that in a few weeks, as in room at the inn, making room. For today, what I invite you to do is let inspiration into your life in the sense of breathe. Is there trouble? Breathe. Are the headlines affecting you? Breathe. Are you uncertain about your work life? Breathe. Are you uncertain about your finances? Breathe. Are you uncertain about your health? Are you getting tested for COVID regularly? And then you go be around other people and you have to go get tested again. Is that worrisome? Do you have kids in school? And you're not sure if they're going to be actually in school or at the dining table in school. Are you a teacher? We have many teachers in the Creative Life community. Are you going to be online? Are you going to be in room? And you don't know. And if you know now, if you know for this last part of the term before Christmas vacation, you don't know what the next term's going to look like. There's all kinds of stuff up in the air. We don't know. And everybody's real ready for 2020 to be over and 2021 to usher itself in. But we're not convinced that at the stroke of midnight, everything's going to be better. And I can't promise you that it will be. What I can promise you is it will be the stroke of midnight. And then we take it from there. So a lot of this gets constricted in the chest. A lot of this gets balled up right in here, and we start to pant like dogs, as we move from one appointment to the next. Breathe into it. Breathe into it. Breathe. Breathe on me. There's an old hymn. Breathe on me, breath of God, fill me with life anew. That's out of the Anglican Church. And Hildegard, you brought in a Hildegard of Bingen recording one time. The feather on the breath of God. Says that's what life is feather on the breath of God. So breathe in. And for another image, an added image, because we like to leave you, we're Creative Life, we're a full service spiritual center, so we like to leave you with more than one image on a Sunday. For a secondary image, imagine the sprouting. Imagine the spire. Imagine that something is rising up within you, and you don't know where your talents are and your skills are, and you don't know where your passion and your bliss are and all of this. Well, they're rising up now through your heart into your head. That's the direction that things go. Then the head works out the details. But out of the heart are the issues of life. Inspiration, fill me brightly. And in a couple of weeks, I'm going to share with you, there's a celestial phenomena going on. You've probably read about on the winter solstice that is fabulous. And we're going to talk about that and milk some metaphysics out of that, because that's what we do. That's what we do. So let's know together now, there is one life. That life is inspiring. That life is aspiring as well. It's aspirational. It is hoping. It is growing toward. It is rising up. And it is reaching out. And if there's repair work to be done, in any sense, the wisdom of the ages flows through us and out our hands to accomplish that. If there's cleaning of the conscience, of the soul, forgiveness, an expansion of gratitude, letting go of resentment and regret and so forth, a psychological cleansing to be done. We are the ones to do it, and the tools have been furnished, and the lights are on. And if it's time for the child in us to come out to play, to put aside all the grown-up cares of how to make things happen, where that child can just stand in the light of a beautiful day and say, this is enough for now. This is enough. I've got Santa and the reindeer on one side. I've got figures of my spiritual practice on the other. This is enough. The lights are on across the eaves of the roof. The stockings are hung by the chimney with care. There's a wreath on the door. There's a tree, bound to have presents, bound to have some with my name on it. They're the gifts of my family as we gather and light the shamash, each candle in succession, as we move through the nights of Hanukkah. There's something for me, just for me. That's what the child in us knows. And it knows how it feels, and that's the real gift. Not the item, not the packaging, but the feeling. Just like with the grandfather's axe. He's here now, is what the feeling nature says. So the feeling in us is yes, thank you, Spirit. I am grateful for the gift of this time, of this moment, of this beauty, this wonder, this joy. And so filled with this new awareness, this new conviction, I move into the week to come. All that stretches before me to experience, knowing that I meet and fulfill every obligation, that I'm surrounded by other godlings doing the same, who know for me the very highest and best as I do for them. All of this accomplished in peace, harmony, and understanding. For this knowing and its manifestation in form everywhere I turn. I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done. And so it is.
And I had a whole bunch of thoughts in my head, and now I'm standing under the lights, and I got nothing. But isn't that the way it goes? I would like to remind you, because I was watching the Facebook comments scroll up. The donation link is in there, and the Power of 10 link. If you want to meet with the practitioner after the service, which we traditionally did in the garden room, we are still doing that. It's just now on Zoom. So just scroll a couple of comments back on Facebook, and you can find that link too. Who is it? Oh, okay, it's PJ. Y'all are in for a treat. We love PJ. So PJ is our practitioner of the day. So please scroll back and go meet with PJ if you have anything that you would like treatment for. And that is also if things are going really well and you just want them to keep going that way. Practitioners love to treat for more good. We love to do that. So just want you to know that. There was one thing that popped into my head, and it was when Reverend Jesse was talking about we give reality our own meaning. Wednesday, it was kind of a dark day. It was kind of a dreary day. It was just, and I was getting ready for work, and I was kind of crabby, and I didn't really want to go to work. And I have my own reasons for not wanting to do that, because I love my job, don't get me wrong. But as I'm getting ready to get out of the house, I'm in the middle of my living room, and this flash of red caught my attention in my backyard. And I went, what is that? And so immediately I rushed over to my backyard, and it was a cardinal. And there are probably cardinals in my backyard all the time. this one just happened to be bright red, and it landed on a bench or a branch, and then it moved over to the back of the fence and stayed there long enough for me to take a couple of really terrible pictures of it. But in that moment, I was reminded of my grandmother. And she's been gone for more than 20 years. But in that moment, she came back to see me. And it was good. And it definitely changed the way I was looking at that day. So, whatever it is that pops into your head in that moment is probably true. So if it is a cardinal landing on your back fence that changes a kind of gray day into a pretty good day, take it. That's the I am showing up for you in interesting and wonderful ways. So in that knowing, I'm going to know that there is one life, one power, one presence, one love. And in that love, I am. That love flows through me, in me, as me. And I know that that love flows through each and every one of you. And as we enter into this holiday season that looks so much more wildly different than we expected, that love will shine through. The I am is always followed by I am love. Feel it, know it, breathe it, sprout it, be inspired by that love. Let that love help you find new ways to reach out, to grow, to rest, and to be. Because truly, that is the best I am. Love. And I know this with all of the gratitude in my being. Just as I'm grateful for this team, the musicians, our senior minister, our staff ministers, and Danielle, who's back there responding to all of your comments. And to Sean and Richard, who keep this place in tip-top shape for when we can all be together again. And I know that my law, my love, my law, my word is carried out. And I relax and know, I relax and release, and so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything
I choose it.
I choose
I
it.
trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use
And
it.
I love it.
And I love it.
So it is.
So it is.